All right, so now we're dealing with X.8, solve multi-step inequalities. Now, if you're looking at solving linear equality practice assignment, when you click that link, it's going to take you to X.8, solve multi-step inequalities. So it's the same terminology, solving linear inequality practice and solving multi-step inequalities. Different terms, same thing. All right. I like to learn with an example. So let's start with the example. All right. So in this one, it says solve for G. So we're solving for the variable. The variable is G. Remember, a variable would be a letter that we don't know what it really represents just yet numerically. We don't know what number it is. Okay. And the numbers, those would be integers. Cool, cool, cool. Okay. So it tells you to solve for a variable, use inverse operations. Inverse operations. Do the opposite. Do the opposite to undo the operations in the equality. So you're going to do the opposite thing. And look, we want to figure out how to get certain things on certain parts. Like for instance, we want the variables over here, all right? And we want the integers or the numbers over here. So you see that, you would think maybe hashtag, it's also a number sign. It started off as a number sign, became called a hashtag a little later, right? So what we want to do is we want to get this number, the negative 10, we want to get it on this side of the inequality. You see the inequality here? I'm pointing right at it now. We want to get that negative 10 on this side of the inequality, and then we want to separate the negative 1 from the G. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to do the opposite. What is it? We're going to do the inverse operation. So what we've done here is to remove the negative 10, we're going to add 10. And if we do it on one side, we're doing it on both sides. So you see here, that's the added 10. We added 10 on both sides. Okay. All right, so negative 8 plus 10 is going to bring you down to 2. In your calculator, you know, if you have a calculator, a handy dandy calculator, I'll bring one up just for handy dandiness. All right, so we have 8. I'm going to make that a negative 8. And we're going to add 10. It's going to give us 2. Beautiful. Okay, so that's correct. And now we have negative 1G. All right, G? What's up, G? So negative 1G. And what we want to do now is the inverse as well, because negative 1G is really negative 1 times G. We could really put a parentheses around this and say it's negative 1 times G. So to do the inverse, since we want to separate the negative 1 from the G, what we're going to do is divide. So if you look down here, you'll see that they divided. You'll see that they divided. So they divided negative 1G by negative 1 and 2 by negative 1. And if you use your calculator, you'll see. Now, here's the interesting thing. This is the part that's super duper important. This part is super duper important. You have to reverse the inequality sign. As soon as you saw here, that's a little note. As soon as you saw that there was a negative sign in front of the variable, you know that you were going to have to change the inequality symbol. Now look, the inequality symbol at the very beginning, the inequality symbol was this, right? You see it? You see it? That was the inequality symbol at the very beginning. But if you look at it down here, it's reversed. We went from greater than or equal to, to less than or equal to. That's what that reminder was, you know. So I put a little reminder here. That's what that little reminder was for. Okay, so remind yourself to reverse the inequality. So now your answer will be G is less than or equal to negative 2. So that's how we're going to go about that. So now we've practiced. So now we're going to go back, and these give you actual points. Let's knock these points out. Let's get these points. Los puntas. Puntas, whatever. Okay, check it out. So we have -1j plus 6. So what do we want to do first? What do we want to do first? The first things first. The first thing that we want to do is we want to move this +6. We want to move this +6. So how are we going to do that? That's right. So -1j plus 6 is greater than 1. So we're going to move the +6, right? We're going to move this +6. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a -6, the inverse operation, on both sides. Now you might want to do this to remind yourself that you're going to bring down this symbol, the inverse operation. I mean, not the inverse operation, but the inequality, right? Okay, so +6 and -6. If you were to add +6 and -6, you're going to end up with 0. +6 and -6. So here's 6, which is positive, minus 6, -6, 0. Or let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. We have a -6, and we're going to add 6. 0, either way. All right, so in this case, it was +6, minus 6. 0. So we know that that's going to be 0. So since that's 0, what we're going to do is just cancel it out. All right, so that just kind of cancels everything out, all right? That cancels everything out. And now we have -1j. Okay, so 1 minus 6, using your handy dandy calculator. So we're going to do 1 minus 6. And that's going to give us -5. Okay, -5, -5, -5. And now, as I shared with you earlier, this is really -1 times j. So since that's -1 times, we're going to do the opposite of times. So what's the opposite of times? Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. You may have answered it already. So plus, the opposite of addition is subtraction. Make those a little darker. And the opposite of multiplication is division. Ooh, I just see where I made a big mistake. That's supposed to be subtraction, so I don't need to have the lines there. Matter of fact, let me do this just to make sure that looks good. I'm going to draw a box around it. That'll make it easier to see. All right, so the opposite of addition is subtraction. The opposite of multiplication is division. So let's come back here. So we actually have -1 multiplied by j. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So now we need to divide. We need to divide by -1 on both sides. On both sides. On both sides. All right, so -1 divided by 1. Let's see what that turns out in the calculator if you haven't done it in your head already. So negative, oh, I'm sorry, I messed up. 1, then I make it negative. So -1 divided by -1 gives you 1. Gives you 1. Okay, right. And here's the other thing. Keep this in mind. Since there's a negative sign in front of this variable, we're going to have to flip. We're going to have to flip. So make a little note to yourself. That's your flip. That's your flip reminder, okay? So it started off as greater than, it's going to flip. It's going to flip. Okay, so -1, and we already know that the answer is 1. So we have 1J, or you can actually just have J. You can really just have J, because, let me erase it. All right, and now we have -5 divided by -1. -5 divided by -1. Let's do that in the handy dandy calculator. Okay, so -5 divided by -1, 5. Okay, so we now know that our answer is 5. Ooh, that's a lot of work, right? That was a lot of work. That was a lot of work. So J is less than 5. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to type in J is less than. Remember, the mouth of the pack person, the mouth of the Pac-Man tells you if it's greater or less than, all right? Tells you if it's greater or less than the mouth. So if this was a pack person, and I'll put the eyes here, that mouth shows you that this is the greater side and this is the lesser side. Okay, so we have J is less than, and our answer is 5. Let's see if I'm right and exact. All right, let's see if I'm right and exact. Whew, let me clear off some of this so we can take a good look. Yes, I was correct. That was a lot of work, right? It was a lot of work, but it's worth it. So let's do one more. This one, I know this is a long video. You say, Mr. Varner, you're talking too much. Yeah, I am. Let's go right into this, okay? M over -6 plus 9 is less than or equal to 10. Remember that the mouth of the inequality, if we had a little, if this was a pack person, okay, so our Pac-Man, our Pac-Woman, our pack person here, the mouth is going towards the 10. That lets me know that this side is less than and this side is greater. So M over -6 plus 9 is less than or equal to 10. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to move this +9. We want to move that +9, all right? Let me get rid of the pack person stuff. All right, we're going to move that +9. So that means we're going to subtract 9 on both sides. Okay, so 10 minus 9 is 1. And those cancel out. So now we have M over -6. And let me write this over here so it looks a little larger, okay? It makes it just a little larger. So we have M over -6. I don't like this pink. Is less than or equal to 1. Okay, so now we have -6 and we want the M by itself. So this is M divided by -6. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply -6 on both sides. So we'll do -6 over here. Looks like graffiti. And on this side, we'll do -6. Okay. Now, because this is a negative number that's connected to the variable, let's put our handy dandy reminder that we're going to have to flip our FL, all right? So we're going to flip our sign. So instead of being less than or equal to, it's going to be greater than or equal to. All right, 1 times -6 is -6. And now these cancel out. The -6 divided by -6 is going to be 1. So they actually cancel out, right? So that leaves you with a m. So our answer is m is greater than or equal to -6. That went a lot quicker, didn't it? All right, let me clear some of this. I'll just type this, fine. M is, and I'm going to use this tool. I'm going to choose this, and -6. Whoo! Okay, let me clear all the drawings, and I'm actually going to bring it down just a little bit so we can see if I'm right or not. All right, m is greater than -6. Excellent. So I've done 2 problems for you. You should be able to take it from here. You should be able to take it here, take it from here. So go ahead and do well. We're looking forward for you getting those. Remember, this is IXL. So you make over 80%, and we're going to provide you with 100%. So make over 80, go on to the next one.